Hey, Bastish Beer for 64K and welcome to a new episode of Shoot 'em Up Decades. And if you've never watched this show before, I take a look at 3 different shoot 'em ups from 3 completely different decades. I review them and tell you why I like them. Okay, so let's first go on to the 1980s for our first retro game look. XMultiply launched into the arcades in 1989, a horizontal shooter from the masters at the time of the genre, RM. Coming off the back-to-back hits of R-Type 1 and 2, with X hitting at the end of 1989, their shooters were a jump above the rest, with dazzling pixel art, clever, inventive gameplay additions, and awesome soundtracks. XMultiply did not disappoint, despite the fact that no ports were ever released until 98's Saturn Double Pack on the Arcades Gear Collection, which was almost a decade later, making it feel like one of those forgotten parts of RM's legacy. The game itself takes elements of R-Type and its own unique ideas and throws you into a ship that gets miniaturized and injected into a human body to help fight and destroy an alien virus. The difficulty rears its head pretty quickly in this game. One-hit kills and checkpoints means your first few games will be short and sweet, and you'll probably see the first level multiple times. It's a tough game, 1980s tough. Despite that, the 7 stages take you on a pretty fascinating horizontal journey that mixes the best of Salamander, R-Type, and a huge dose of HR Giga into the mix for its entire trip into surreal weirdness. Your defenses include regular fire and tentacle arms, which when picked up turn your ship into the ultimate attacker and defender at the same time. With the 2 arms, it essentially triples your firepower, plus can be used to ram or smash enemies, destroying them. Plus, the way you maneuver your ship, you can essentially wrap yourself around the arms, forming a shield against enemy fire. It's completely up to you how you use them, and is very effective in all situations, only once you realize what works best in different parts of each level. The mixture of biological and horror-tinged graphics were really unique for that time. The music was way darker and more sinister than your happy-go-lucky arcade-natured music during the late 80s, which just added to the feeling of constant dread that death was literally a second away at all times. Despite its pretty hard difficulty, it's a shooter that's essentially something quite different, slow, weird, well designed with a large dose of obscurity. And now let's head on over to the 1990s for our second shoot 'em up look. 19XX War Against Destiny hit up the arcades in 1995 in all its manic destruction, courtesy of Capcom, delivering another vertical shooter masterpiece to their long-running 1942 series, this one being the 4th entry if you count the 2 versions of 1943 as one, and running on their CPS2 hardware. It successfully manages to have that old-school flavor of the shooter series' origin, with a slower, more methodical pace, while still delivering that mid-90s massive amount of on-screen action without going fully into the bullet hell territory. It's set in an alternate World War II style setting where you're trying to essentially stop an escalation which could lead to World War III. As per usual, you get 3 diverse planes to choose from in the beginning. Each has different speed, power, and different styled homing missiles. The planes are retro looking with futuristic styled weapons. It almost feels steampunk, but not quite. Each of the game's 7 levels are balanced extremely well in the sense that the stages are just the right amount of length before the inevitable boss showdowns, and don't overstay their welcome in any way, which often ruins shoot 'em up games. The weapons system is also updated over the classic games, with your usual regular fire, plus homing missiles, which if charged and fired on an enemy, initiates a lock-on feature, meaning every other missile will home in on that one target, which is super useful against bosses and the bigger enemies. Plus you got your regular smart bombs, which also have their own degree of strength, depending on how how long you hold the button down for, which all makes this entry much more versatile in style over the original trilogy. Of course, also being an arcade vertical shooter, it also offers up 2-player co-op action and a cool ranking system based on your level performance. Visuals are genuine top-tier Capcom 2D art dripping with multi-layers and exceptional amounts of detail, with a soundtrack which is way less generic than the previous entries, plus those wonderful 80s styled anime-infused sound effects to sweeten the deal. It truly is a top-class shoot 'em up and another excellent entry in their 1940 series of games. And now over to the 2010s for our final game. Raiden III hit the arcades up in 2005 after a long 11-year hiatus from the series, with PC and PS2 versions following swiftly afterwards. This version I'm looking at is the PC Digital Edition. The game is essentially a 2.5D game, taking the gameplay and styles of the first two games and modernizing it with traditional 2D gameplay with more modern 3D model graphics, but still very much feeling 2D in design. Created by the company Moss, who were made up of former Saibu Kaihatsu employees, the makers of the original games, that bought the rights to continue the series, and they did bring it back in a big way. The game features 7 stages overall. 3 of them take place on Earth before blasting off into space for the final 4, to stop a bunch of aliens known as the Crystals from taking back Earth once again. Generally speaking, things are a little bit more faster and more manic than before, catching up to shooter tropes of the era instead of being a beat-for-beat retread of the originals, although it still does feel very Raiden-like in design. You've got a set of main and secondary weapons. Your mains consist of either a spread shot, the classic lightning whip from the first few games, and a full-force laser blast, with secondary having mini nukes, awesome homing missiles, and even guided nukes to round out your arsenal of death. Everything can be upgraded as well, boosting the chaos up a few notches, with 5 pickups to max out your mains and 3 to max out your secondary spreads. The jump from Earth to space gives the game a really fresh feel for the levels, even though they include every single trope in the genre in terms of settings that have ever graced a shoot 'em up. It also sports lots of modes, from score attack, boss rush, and a really excellent 2-player mode is all in here to enjoy. The graphics are very well done, feeling very 2D but obviously 3D, and are used very subtly in the backdrops and boss encounters to do a lot of tricks you simply couldn't do with a 2D graphic style. Music is your usual electronic tinged arcade fare, nothing to write home about, with very good sound effects though to round out the atmosphere. It's a fun shooter on so many levels, highly recommended, and a cool continuation of the classic arcade series. And that's it for another episode. I really hope you enjoyed checking out all these old classic shoot 'em ups. Thanks for joining me, Bastish B at 64K. I hope you had a good time, and if you can please like and subscribe, they'll be greatly appreciated, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.